All right, so it's 1:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018, and I'll call the meeting to order. And this is a special council meeting for our budget discussions, assuming there isn't any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof, but if there is, Deputy Mayor Stockman?
If we talk about Muller Ferry from Pike to Center, then I'll step back from that.
Okay. All right, so we were just given some information for our budget from the last meeting, and I'm sure Kathy will go through that for us.
Yes.
Don't go too fast, please.
I'll go so nice.
Councilor Sanders has some pages mixed up, I think, from the last
meeting.
So, first thing I did is on your desk, there is an updated budget summary. The top is dated April the 3rd. There was an error in the expense side. The $84,925 was included as an expense, and it was actually $95,425. So it did alter the bottom line somewhat. There's $10,500 difference in the bottom line. And it's been updated, and it's highlighted. The April 3rd is the newest one. Fire Chief Nordhoff wasn't here at the last meeting, so I didn't know if council had any questions about his budget specifically before we go into a general overview and some areas of change.
Is there any questions at all for the fire department? Fire Chief? Doesn't?
So, on your desk in front of you is some information supplied by Councillor McKinnon in regards to the Four Counties Hospital. It's the pie chart, and it just shows that it seems to be that predominantly used by Middlesex County for the admissions. However, when you look at emergencies and ambulatory care, it kind of changes around, and a lot more come from Chatham-Kent in that regard. So this is in regards to the donation listing on page 5 of your draft budget. As discussed at the last meeting, it included a grant of $16,600 for Strathroy Middlesex General Hospital and a donation of $5,000 to Four Counties Hospital. And there was some discussion on whether to proceed with the grants as listed or if you'd like to change them to any degree, and we're just looking for direction from council.
I'm in favor of staying with the 5 and the 16, given that we're not raising the taxes, and I think both of them are viable to the area.
I concur.
Yep.
Okay.
So the next set of information is in regards to waste and recycling. And this relates to page starts on page 55 is the original budget information.
So, Kathy, our budget still have numbers.
Our pages aren't numbered.
Oh, on your iPads there.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were using your iPad.
Okay.
Sorry.
I didn't know.
Everything on your iPad is numbered, so
Okay.
yes.
55?
55.
Thank you. I like it.
The department is 6440 is the starting department.
That makes things a lot easier.
So at our last budget meeting, we had a discussion in regards to the contractor services and what would happen if we were going to do an alternate disposal. I contacted Francis at Blue Water Recycling, and he has advised that we would incur an extra $5,200 in the co-collection fees. So you'll see on the page in front of you today, under alternate disposal, that's to take the landfill, instead of going to the school road landfill, that is to actually take it to Twin Creeks just outside of Watford. That's the second column, alternate disposal.
Okay, that is Warwick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so there will be an extra 5,200 included in the co-collection fees, which brings it up to 56,779 for this year. And also as part of the disposal, we would have to pay the tipping fees which are charged by Waste Management, and it's $74.39 per ton. Every year we deposit approximately 200 tons of garbage, just slightly under that at the school road landfill from the collection. But also included in that is we have to have a contractor come in and buy our certificate of approval. We're to have it covered within hours of it being dumped. I think we have a 2-day window to have it covered over. So that's why the increase in the 2018 proposed covering charges is to have the landfills covered after each time there's waste taken to the landfills. So it's probably high at 15,500 because we're 1/4 of the way through, but just to show you for purposes of this year that it would cost us 15,500 to have the waste truck to Watford on a weekly basis. And I did talk to Francis, and he has advised that the current collection can also be done in 1 day. There's 2 trucks on the road in Adelaide Metcalfe, so we would not see any change in the service. There would be about a half an hour delay between the trucks, but their service time, they would be able to do the township as they do now in 1 day and have it all disposed of. Also included in there is a reduction in the amount of the contractor services. Oh, sorry, that's okay.
Continue on.
And the contractor services, because we would require the contractor to be at our landfill less this year. And as we go through it and work through the system and become more familiar with the roles and responsibilities and how we want it handled, we would see those costs continually go down. It will be somewhat higher this year because we're 1/4 of the way in, and we're just not sure how we're going to manage everything. There's some other changes that have to happen, so there's a slight reduction proposed for that. And as well, the materials to cover the waste will be reduced as well. So you can see that although it doesn't eliminate the cost of the landfill, it does help to bring the cost to operate a waste and recycling system down. And then going forward from there, in the third column is excluding the extras, which this year we have to build 2 new cells at the both landfills, and we're doing some burn work in addition at the Adelaide site just to get it prepared. So there's $20,000 we won't necessarily have every year. It's going to be one of those things whenever we need to build a cell. But if we take our landfill elsewhere, we also won't have to build cells quite as often because we'll extend the life of our landfill, which currently for the school road landfill is estimated to be 6.8 years left. So if we can extend that, we would like to get between likely 10 to 12 more years out of that landfill site, depending on how it's managed going forward. So we'll have a lot more time to before it has to be closed and to get some more money in the reserves to look after the post-closure costs. So that's just some information for council on what would happen for this year specifically. We would see a slight reduction in the cost of operating the landfills, but next year we would likely see a better cost ratio.
Just a comment. I know we haven't tendered for the waste disposal contractor, but I know that Southwest Middlesex did, and they're having terrible problems with their contractor. The trucks are broken down half the time, and so I'm thinking we should stay with raw.
Well, if we look strictly at dollar amounts, it's a wash pretty well. But if we look beyond that and say, well, we are going to extend the life of the landfill and be more compliant with the requirements in that, I think that's a win situation. And then, as far as the wheelie bins, we can look at that further on down the road. But I'm thinking that based on the numbers as presented, now it depends, of course, on what happens to the disposal fees. Mm-hmm. If they start going up significantly, then there is a bit of a change there. But based on what we're seeing here, I'm thinking that their weekly garbage goes to Twin Creeks, and we keep the Saturday open for other stuff that won't go with the regular weekly pickup.
Okay, Councilor Hendricks?
I agree with that, and I wonder if, because we're extending the length, maybe we could even take 5,000 or 10,000 out of our annual reserve commitment.
Councilor Pinnon?
I'm kind of thinking stay with the annual commitment because we never know when MOE might come up with an order that may cost us a lot of money. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but if we put in that additional 10,000, then we're in good stead. It doesn't hurt our repairs neither if we have to come up with some large dollars.
Councilor Sanders, any additional comments?
No, what Nick proposed, or I think it's a good idea. I think we should definitely look at that. Yep. No, I'm good with that. I think it's, well, we get 10, 15 more years out of this, you know, why not take it over there? I mean, even if it goes, that's part of the operation. If it goes up, it does go up. Costs here also go up to, you know, dig the hole, cover, whatever it may be. It all coincides with each other, so to me, this makes a lot of sense to take it to Blue Water. Or Twin Creek. Yep.
Just one question that I have, Kathy, is that will the collection fee decrease or will it stay the same if we went to a bi-weekly pickup?
I didn't ask that question at this point in time because we haven't discussed whether we are looking to go, if we did that, we would likely have to go wheelie bin because of the quantity of garbage that would need to be picked up. We would likely be looking at having to have some sort of a system with the wheelie bins. So we didn't get into the discussion on what that would impact it.
Councilor Sanders?
So back to that, and again, what the mayor or Curtis was proposing, a bi-week to a week, and we might stay the way it is with our blue box for the time being. Till where I read somewhere 2021, we might have to go to the wheelie bins.
Yep.
But till then, if everybody's happy, and we did a survey, most of them were happy the way we're doing it, so why wouldn't we change that halfway? You know, we might have to make change in 2021 probably. And then we can decide, should it be bi-weekly or weekly?
So we want a decision. Okay, so we need a decision as to whether we're going to stay the same course we've been doing with our landfill or if we want to make a change with the blue water recycling garbage and recycling pickup.
I think we should make the change and do it now. I really do. Because, you know, we got a landfill here that we know we're going to do a lot of work on. So I'd say go to, well, Watford I call it, or Warwick, or with our, I do.
Okay, so
You need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think Jennifer's probably writing something down.
Slowly.
Okay. So it's moved by Councilor Sanders and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stockman.
You want to hear what I got?
Yeah.
Sure.
And add in if I'm missing anything?
I hope you wrote it up better than the way I explained it.
Resolved that council approve waste collection to be disposed at Twin Creeks, effective immediately?
I would, yeah, I estimated as of May the 1st.
Okay.
This gives us a little transition time. I was told by Francis that there will be no issues. They have an agreement that they can take whatever waste is collected, so it should have no effect on us.
Okay. So I added effective May 1st, 2018.
Excellent. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
The next sheet in front of you is just a statement of the reserves as of December 31st, 2017. You will note that under the capital purposes, there are some commitments coming out of the $1,566 or the $1,566,000 that's in for capital purposes, and that's for the Mack truck at $295,000, the salary and wage grid review of $15,000, and the branding and logo review for update of $3,200. Which is a total of $313,200. But we do have quite a considerable amount of reserves, over $5 million. So just wanted to bring that forward to council. It is proposed that the $274,000 in the gas tax reserve be taken out of reserve this year in 2018 and be applied to the Scotchmere Road project.
Councillor Sanders?
Question, 5.7 million, is that what we have in reserve?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there any questions on the reserves? Comments? Nope.
So this is, the next sheet is just for your information before we get into the major area where there's some decisions to be made, which is the roads budget. And you'll see it's just as a comparison. The amounts in blue are if there is no change in the current tax rate, which is we leave the residential rate at 0.006916, which it was in 2017. That raises $3,652,514 in taxes, which means that on the current budget of $3,807,657, we are short $155,143. So that's a zero tax increase. If you wanted to increase it to go to exactly what we need to raise is the 3.8 million, it would be an increase of from 0.006916 to 0.007211, which is an overall 4.265% increase. It's minuscule, but it is a 4% increase overall. So that to raise that 155,000, it is a 4% increase. So
4%.
Councillor Hendricks?
So I'm going to say that judging by the changes in the different classes, it's going to be pretty well a wash with the residential and maybe a 6 or 8% increase on farmland.
yes, if you look at it in the green, the more significant increase to the farmland, $176,000 more is going to be raised by farmland property.
How much are we short again?
155,000.
So if we want to leave it at 0, 0 even,
Yes.
my recommendation would be that we take the 50,000 out of reserves.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
my
there's
head
just
is-
some more information.
No,
That's just
no.
to let you know. That's just to let you know where it's at for this year, so that
Yeah,
you
I
have
got
that
you.
for
Okay,
information.
Oh, I thought we were going to make a decision.
Once you have a
It's
chance
good
to
to know where
review
you're
the
at.
road budget.
Where I'm at.
So, all right. So we're going to look at the roads budget now, because it is the area where is the most ability to change the budget. So we're looking at road capital, which will be on page page 47. So we have, in the resurfacing, which is the Scotchmere project, it's got 612,000 here, but the budget that I created had 630,000, plus the Emo gas tax of 274,000. The project cost is $356,000. So the decision to be made is if you want to proceed with the Scotchmere resurfacing, with the cold in place single surface treatment, which was the general consensus from the last meeting, was that that was going to stay as it was, and the cold in place is the preferred method of treatment. So that will be $356,000 net cost. So it's the road construction, and does council want to proceed with the Walker's Drive to be started this year? The total cost included in the budget is $720,000, and that's for the 3 blocks of Walker's heading west. So we need some direction from council. There was discussion at the last meeting of moving from Walker's over to Scotchmere and making Scotchmere the first road that's completed on that side of the township as a through road. What would be required there? The cost would likely be very similar for each one. The engineering is not completed for that project, so we would have to get the engineering completed, plus decide how much of the road you wanted to work on this year.
So my question is, we gotta get it engineered so nothing would happen this summer to that road.
I'll ask Public Little to discuss that.
I'm confident that we can get the engineering done and proceed into construction. If that's what the directive is by council, I think we can still move ahead.
I'm all for it. You know that. I've been all
Well,
for
it makes
it.
no difference to me, because we're gonna do both of them eventually. So
Yeah.
whether we finish Walker's or whether we move over to Scotchmere, it makes no difference to me. Because we're gonna do them both eventually, aren't we?
Yes, according to,
Well, I'm sure we are.
Councilor Hendricks?
Do we know how many houses are on each piece?
I would say,
About the same?
I would think so. Maybe a few more on Scotchmere than Walker.
Yeah, I'm sure guess. I mean, I've driven down both of them.
Yeah.
I haven't been down that way in a while, so. But to me, if you have Walker paved between 2 paved roads, and if you do all of Scotchmere, then people still have close access if they can't, if their
That's
road
true.
isn't paved right away. So
That's a good point, Marion.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any difference which one's paid first.
Except that Scotchmere is actually a through road from 80 Highway to Hyde Park Road, 2021, almost.
Dr. Stockman?
Where was I going now? Oh, okay, I know now. We've looked, or Jeff has requested, traffic counters. That's probably the first place to put it, is both of them, just actually see what the traffic counts are. Because, you know, at the last budget meeting, you mentioned different times, you know, well, okay, what's the traffic count? I'm thinking that you base it on, sure, on a number of things, but traffic count needs to be part of that, I think. So, for us to make a decision whether it goes one or the other, if we don't know what the traffic count is, you don't know which one's getting, sure, once you upgrade, the traffic count will increase.
And so
Because the roadway is better, people are gonna choose that road. So, I don't know either road well enough or the area well enough to say,
I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. The only reason I go out, stay with Walker, because Ellen had that all in his plans, and which day was gonna be that section, then this section. People on Walker's will probably say, yeah, we're gonna get our road paved in the next 2 or 3 years. Now we're gonna switch it over to Scotchmere, and they'll say, now what the hell's going on? I mean, what happened here? So to me, once Ellen has his project, his site set, now Jeff's the boss, it makes no difference to me. But I think we should carry on with that plan, just to satisfy the people. We can, here, we're only trying to satisfy one person, Betty Ann McKinnon, she wants Scottsville. Done first. But you know, we're not listening to all the people walking around and say, hey, you guys are not gonna move over here now. So that's the only reason I say, let's finish Walker and proceed with Scottsmere next. That was in the plan of a previous road superintendent, doesn't mean we have to follow it, but that's why I say Walker's first, then we'll do Scottsmere. It's engineered, it's ready to go, that one isn't.
Additionally, we could also look at it that we don't have to do either one this year. We could just raise some of the funds and put it into reserves, and then you're able to take those monies out of the reserve the following year to then proceed with either Scotchmere or Walker's, and then.
No, I think we should work on Walker's this year. I think we should keep working.
One completed.
Yeah, I think we really should. I don't think we should stop a year. We got the equipment, we got the machinery, it's engineered, we have the funds, let's do it.
And I think, as Jeff pointed out, that once we get more tar and chip or this bonded roadway, that our costs will come down on the snow plowing, the graveling, the dust blowing. So we'll recover those costs in fairly quickly manner.
Yeah, and once we start, and we've already started with the part of Walker, looks like we're gonna continue on Scotchmere hard surfacing. Once that starts happening down there, if we can group some of this, like the rest of Walker, the rest of Scotchmere together, we're gonna see, then we can start talking about truck versus grader versus costs that's happening down in the south end. I think there's something there. So.
That's good.
Given that point about grouping them, would that be a better sort of enticement for a contractor to come and finish Walkers and start on Scotchmere? Would we get better pricing if they don't have to move very far?
For instance, we're doing 3 blocks of hard surfacing on Scotchmere now. We definitely will get a better price because of the extra length. There's no doubt about that. So it's a large amount to put out, but you do get a better cost. On the rebuilding side of things, the real cost of rebuilding those blocks down there are going to be the gravel application. Yeah, so once you add up, if you add up block versus 3 blocks will be cheaper per volume because it's a bigger job. There's no doubt about hiring the gravel, bringing the gravel in. Whether we do 3 or, if we start adding it all up, it becomes to a certain point where you don't get the cost savings as much because they've still got to make the money on getting it there. So, 3 blocks is a lot. There's no doubt about it. That's a big chunk. I included the 3 costs, the 3 blocks to show you what each one would cost. We are open for 1, 2, 3, none. It is all,
Councilor Sanders?
Don't we have in the budget for the 3 blocks? Isn't that in there now? The way the rate and everything's set, why would we change it? Why would we go back to 1 now? It's in the budget, we're set, far out because the budget is almost completed. We're going to do the 3 blocks, aren't we? I mean, we got the funds, you got the time. Why are we arguing about doing 1, 2, or 3? We're doing 3, right?
Do we want to be cheap?
Yeah.
Do we want to be cheap? No, I don't think you want to be cheap. I think we want, to me, roads is the most important thing in this township. And everybody uses them. So let's build some decent roads. What else do we have to work on? Not a whole lot. So let's dwell on our roads. That's important to me.
Deputy Stockman?
I certainly see the validity of that discussion. I guess I would like to see, where do we go in 19 and 20 as far as the plans and that. both the roads plan and capital plan to see, you know, we can utilize more funds this year, but what do we have in the coming years as far as commitments to both the road work and capital work, or capital cost? Because we can go short, you know, draw from the reserves this year, but if in 19 and 20 we need money again, at some point in time we're going to have to ask for that.
Yeah, but as far as our equipment, everything's up to date, we're keeping it up, we're trading trucks, we're looking at a new hole, so I mean, as far as those capital costs, we've been budgeting them for years and years, and every year we seem to replace something, so I can't see a huge change in the coming year, say, we're gonna spend so many dollars on the road, so many dollars on capital expense, unless the salaries triple in a matter of 2 or 3 years, but so if I'm gonna be here, that won't happen, so, but, you know, basically, we're on the same kind of a flow every year. Spend so much on equipment, so much on roads, upkeep, maintenance, whatever it may be. So I can't see a huge change from one year to the other. And even if you have to take a little out of reserve each year, I mean, look at the interest rates every year. Even spend it if you have to take that out of reserve. And your reserve, all we do is the reserve is getting higher and higher. It doesn't matter if you spend a little bit of reserve. I like to be comfortable, but it doesn't have to be crazy.
Kathy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that, I did circulate you the equipment information. I do have a copy of the asset management plan that was approved by council. Unfortunately, when you look back at what's there, it hasn't been followed to any degree at any point in time. So we have this information here, but it's never been followed. So this is one of the mandates of the new asset management program, is that when you put it in there, you have to start following what you say is your priorities. And I don't think that's ever been brought to council for them to review. When you did your last asset management plan, it had a lot of places that need to be replaced and upgraded, but it's never been followed through. So that's the whole key is you need to start making a plan and following through with the plan, because every year from 2013 to 2014 to 2015, the plan hasn't been followed through with. So that's where we're falling in, and we're just following along with whatever was decided years ago kind of thing. So that's something that is coming through, and it has to be approved by council by 2019. You have to have our asset management plan in place. Jeff will be working on that with me to go through it and bring it up to date and decide what needs to be done and where we're really at with all of these. A lot of the information is backdated and it's not correct and accurate information. It was put in there just to get a number in our system, and it wasn't necessarily qualified by how did that number get determined. So, you know, we're working on getting that up to date, and that's something that will happen this year for council approval.
Just looking at that page, I don't think we've ever seen that page.
Oh,
It was approved by council in your asset management plan. Yes. It was on a little tiny piece of paper that was only about this big. Came to council. It was prepared in, I believe, 2015. It was circulated based on 2013's data.
It's in my box somewhere.
Yeah, so it's just
2013?
yes. The information pulled out was dated Friday, December 20, 2013. It was presented to council in early 2015 for approval.
that was a year.
Yeah,
2015.
2015, not there.
and there, yeah, I have copies for you if you want.
No, not there.
But that's the kind of asset management program, that's what the whole asset management plan is to start to determine what council's priorities are, and not just that, you know, it was an east-west road and that's what our next road is. It's more based on actual data and what's the requirement of the community and the people that use the road systems. So, which is where we get the counters in, and we start looking at the sections that are supposed to be done. And if it was a two-year plan before, now it's switched to a 3 to 4 year plan to do these roads. So all of that has to be taken into consideration, because what was approved has now been shifted off for an extra year or two. So that's why we always come back to council for direction every year on how much you want to do and how far you want to go, because we only have so much, there's only so much in the budget to increase, and we don't know, staff needs to be directed in how much council wants to take on in any one year.
And it has changed quite a bit, because I remember when I first started on council, all those roads in the south of the township were supposed to be concluded by, I think it was like 2021 or 2020. And we're not halfway there.
Yeah.
So, a
No,
lot of things have changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there was some reality there too of going from 1.5 million in OMAF, the government grant, down to 700,000.
Yes.
So, you know,
So,
and policing costs going up from 200 and some odd to 400 and some odd. So we also have to look at the reality too.
And we had weather issues one fall,
Yeah.
where we couldn't work one fall.
No, we're doing okay as far as roads goes.
Councillor Kinnon?
Well, and I think by using some of our reserves, it may help us to maybe inch back up in our grant. They look at someone with 5 million reserve and they're saying they don't need the money. We'll give it to another municipality that has no reserves and they need the money. So I'm looking at it as a win-win.
No, we got other reserves.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not saying
no,
spend
I'm
it
sorry,
all.
I don't
I'm
wanna
saying-
run on the shoestring.
No, but I'm saying spend like 500,000 out of 5 million
No,
reserve is
I don't have a problem with that.
hurt you at all. What are we saving it for?
No, that's true. Oh, no. I can see that.
So I have a couple questions, just because I think we're still trying to figure out we haven't really made a decision if it's Walker's or Scotchmere or anything like that. How quick, A, are we going to get these tenders, and then B, get them out there to get some numbers to then make a decision. What I'm trying to figure out is, can we put in the budget a dollar amount to then decide which road we're going to go with in a few weeks, months, something?
We can get counters as soon as the budget's, we can get it right away. It doesn't take very long to get some counters out there. The only thing I would say is that we have to be careful, because to get the raw data versus Walker versus Scotchmere at the present moment, Scotchmere is still gravel coming through there. It's going to be a rough estimate, but I have a feeling that it's not that different at the present moment. And if we really do want to do Walker and Scotchmere, if that's the plan in the short term, to be honest, I'm not sure at this point if we get a difference of 20 or 30 cars a day difference between Walker and Scotchmere at the present moment. If we were to hard surface Scotchmere, and it really is the connecting road, you're going to see the traffic count start to climb. And I think if it is a connecting road, I think that's more of an indication to do Scotchmere first. But if we are under the assumption that we're going to do start 3 blocks and finish it this year, and then the next step would be to hard surface it, and then to continue on with that program within 5 years. Nothing's written in stone, but we would have it all done within 5 years.
So the Walkers and
And Scotchmere at the present moment. So again, I think it's more of just direction, and we can get it done.
Okay, so are we looking for direction?
Before you do, if you may, I also did a quick calculation. If we're the 1% increase, if you took your tax rate and increased it by 1%, we would raise over 2017 $35,949. So a 1% increase is not going to cover the 155 that we need to raise to make a difference in this year's budget. 35,949.
Councillor?
I'm all for taking the 155 addition out of the reserves and doing both roads. continuing on.
Continuing with Walkers and then following
Yes.
with Scotchmere.
Justin, your motion?
So just a point of clarification, when you're talking do both roads, you're referring to hard surfacing the 3 blocks of Scotchmere that are ready, and doing all the base work on 3 blocks of Walkers.
7.4 kilometers, yeah. 10th Road to Melbourne and touch up the preparation and then the cold in place. And Walkers would be 10th Road to MacArthur and Tate's to MacArthur and Dundonald to Tate's. As per the budget.
And this motion should have the reserve, taking a reserve, or should we do that at the very end of the meeting?
Well, we have to put it all through, but it should be in that motion that we use reserves to fund the project, to assist in funding the project.
Both projects, so we label both projects in that motion?
I would use it as the road construction projects. And that way it covers
Both.
both.
So it's moved by Councilor Kinnon and seconded by Councilor Sanders. Is there any further discussion? Deputy Stockman?
So which reserve is that coming out of?
Whatever reserve you need. The road project.
It will come out, we have a roads project reserve and a capital purposes reserve,
So either or.
Roads.
probably the road projects.
That would make no sense.
Okay, so that would basically bring it down to 700.
Yes.
We're good.
And at some point.
Deputy Stockman?
Yes.
Now, in the budget that was presented the first time through, there's no money going into reserves at all on roads. So we're taking 155 out, and we're actually going down by 275 because we're not putting in 120.
Just point of clarification, would it be that we'd be taking out 629,000 out of reserves total for, we're looking at, that's road equipment, sorry. So 274 plus the 155.
Yeah, the 274 is coming out of the gas tax reserve, so it's coming out of different areas.
Also, it's just
313 and 155. Yeah, 742. $750,000 coming out of reserves.
Come out of reserves?
What if 5 million?
$750,000 coming out of reserves.
And then the 155 to keep the budget at 0.
Now, the 313 was already,
Right, it's already in
From-
there
from
from last
last
year, yes.
so you
So
take
Oh, well, that
that
isn't
away.
actually true there.
Yeah,
So-
so 400.
So 430.
Well, that's more like it.
But that gas tax fund can only be used for
For
certain
those,
things,
right.
and we have to use that.
Yes.
Yeah, so actually you shouldn't even count that either.
Yeah.
No.
Not really.
But we keep talking about that 5.7, and that is included in that. So to be fair, you need to look at that too.
Yeah, but if we don't spend it, then what happens to it?
We have to spend it. We have we would
I
get cut
have
off.
no
Yeah.
issue with
We can't
spending
just
that.
put it in reserve and say we're not gonna spend it. We have to spend it.
Yes, and we have to put interest into the account as well. So it's including $4,000 in interest that we had to pay to that fund. from
So
our-
then it really isn't really what Nick is saying. If we don't spend it, yeah, it is and it isn't.
It's part of that total.
Yeah.
It is what it is, carry on. Yeah, even if it's 300-400 out of 5.5 million, I think it's okay, let's do those roads.
Okay, so this is moved by Councillor Cannon and seconded by Councillor Sanders. So you want to read out that motion there, Jacqueline?
Resolve that council use road projects reserve to fund road construction projects for 2018.
By the amount of, it's not gonna be in there?
Probably should be
Okay.
qualified by, to achieve a 0% tax rate increase. And that's what we would have as a 0% tax increase. We would not change the tax rate. We would raise the total of $3,807,657. And with a 0% tax increase by taking $155,143 out of the roads project reserve.
Any further discussion? Councillor Hendricks?
This is all assuming that the budgets are, or that the tenders are going to come close to what we're budgeting. So if tenders are way out of whack, then we'll have to.
We'll have to review at that point in time,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Yep.
When would you like this brought back for approval, the budget? At the 16th, Councillor Hendricks is away on the 16th. Do you want it ready for review on the 16th and final approval at the first meeting in May? Councillor Hendricks will be here.
Depending on where you want it done.
Commissioner Stockman?
The sooner we get it approved and stamped, the sooner we can do tenders and get everything rolling.
Yeah.
Because we need to have all that stuff done by the 27th of July.
That's when we get
Just have a question before we go on with that. We did discuss last time, and I'm not sure if I'm assuming we didn't change anything yet with the sidewalks and that type of thing. And getting that back in.
We haven't made a motion, and that was coming up at the meeting tonight, whether we wanted to put the $10,000 away and set it aside for sidewalk review.
Could we look at an alternative to the sidewalks to what they have in Plimpton, Wyoming, to that asphalted walkway?
Yep.
And that way you may be helping your liability somewhat because you don't have the cracks that are heaving and causing trip and falls. And I don't know what the price differential might be. Would that be?
Yep, I definitely can look into it.
I just wanted to make sure that we got that in there before we start.
Yes.
Yeah. Assuming that's in.
That was still in, wasn't it?
Not
Was it
for
or wasn't it?
2018, for 2017, 10,000 was budgeted to do the engineering for
Did we move it over into
sidewalks.
27?
We haven't yet, but we can make that motion at the council meeting this evening.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if that, I'm assuming that's in your financial.
Yes.
No. Okay. And then my next question I was going to have is, do we have to wait? I know, like, obviously we want to pass the budget as soon as possible, but if council is to make those motions right now, couldn't Jeff go ahead and start doing those tenders right now, assuming that if council is to make those approvals and saying that it is in the budget, can he then proceed with them before the budget's approved?
Before we're written down.
Or
It's up to council. Generally, you wait until the budget's approved. If you wanted to approve it in principle, then at least we have some that you're confident that what you've been presented is going to be what you will see in the final, and you're happy with what it is, and then the tenders can start going out, especially for gravel and dust control and those kind of ones, and then,
Councillor Kennedy?
I think that's a good idea to do it in principle and allow our road superintendent an opportunity to get it out and get the prices. One, it'll confirm that it's in the ballpark or not, and two, if we wait too long, the contractors are usually busy and we end up with a higher price and not able to do it.
Any other thoughts on that?
Does all council have to be there to approve the budget?
No, just a majority.
Okay.
it was just past practice, if one was missing, we didn't go ahead with it until it was full council,
No,
so
that's fine.
I guess that's up to council.
No,
I
it's
am
just a question.
Yeah, I am expecting to be able to get emails, so I
Okay.
may be able to email on thoughts on the matter. So.
Because in that case, I mean, we should try to get it done as soon as possible.
Another reason I brought that up is just because if we're not going to be changing our mind between now and the actual approval, why not approve it in principle, and then that way our staff can go ahead with tenders.
Yep. Either way is fine with me. Yep. If that works, that's okay.
I haven't seen anything drastic or controversial in here that would make me want to wait a month.
No.
So how do we go about, do we approve certain things in principle, or?
I would just put it all in principle, and that way everything can get started, and anything that we're apprehensive or may have concerns about getting any information, I think it's pretty straightforward what we're doing, and there's nothing too complicated in there, so we can go ahead and get the documents prepared.
Okay.
Councillor Kennedy, were you wanting to make that?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
And seconded by Councillor Hendricks.
Resolved that council approve the 2018 draft budget in principle as presented, with final to come in May.
April. No, I would say we're fine to come. Just
Okay.
approved as presented on April the 3rd. Presented at the meeting.
Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Stockman?
The other option is that we could have all the tenders ready to roll as soon as it's approved.
And I do believe Public Works Manager's been working diligently on getting this ready. He's ready.
if he's
He's
not
ready.
ready to
The
roll.
minute you say go, he's ready, so.
Let's let loose off the reins and let it go.
Just like your corn planter, it's ready for May 20th plant.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay. So when was the April 13th?
It'll be the next meeting, April the 16th.
We need a motion for that.
We'll bring it back at the regular council meeting,
Yeah.
so it'll just be an item on the regular council meeting agenda.
Perfect. Okay, is there anything else? Anything else? Okay, so we need a motion to adjourn at 2:20.
Well, I have one question, sorry. What about our backhoe? Is that for next year?
That's this year.
It's in here already?
Yes.
148,000.
The one, our new road superintendent have a new backhoe. Good, good, good. No more questions, sorry, Mayor.
Okay, so motion to adjourn at 2:25. Councilor Sanders and Councilor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.